This is going live.
It should be live right now, but we'll trim off the front. All right, welcome to Yukon Speaks, the podcast that elevates Yukon's best. I'm your host, Brian Pillmore, and in each episode we delve into the stories of leaders, innovators, visionaries who drive our city forward. So whether you're a resident of Yukon or someone who appreciates the stories of small city dynamism, tune in. Let's celebrate and elevate the voices that contribute to our city's vibrancy and future. Today we're joined by Jarrid Wright with Metro Sign, and Jarrid, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have leaders like you in our city and to highlight the good work that you're doing. Tell me about how you got your start.
Man, so my father started out in McDonald's in Woodward when I was a young man, and it didn't take long for him to realize that he wanted to do it for himself and not just work for my grandfather. So in the early 90s, we moved to Yukon and bought a restaurant in Oklahoma City, and ultimately sold the restaurant and then got the two restaurants here in Yukon in 2000. So that kind of started our Yukon career, but we always lived here. Our family was from here, and we had some friends that lived in Woodward. They're like, you got to move to Yukon. It's a lot like Woodward, you know, just that small town feel, but you're right on the edge of the city, which was nice, right? You know, So because when you lived in Woodward, you're like, we're going to the city. We're going to the city. We need to go to the mall.
4 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. Like a whole weekend, right? So then we got the McDonald's in 2020 and ran it for 18 years. And, you know, the cards just were kind of pointing it in the different direction. And we decided to retire and get out of the restaurant business, which was good. And so I've been at Metro for 6 years now. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, you know, when I first moved to Yukon, I remember meeting your dad at the McDonald's right there on Main Street, and he was a fixture in the community and a lot of good memories. He had a huge impact on, I think, the lives of people here, and everybody remembers it, and you're carrying on in his footsteps. So tell me today with Metro Sign, I mean, that's a big transition to go from the restaurant industry into the sign industry. What was that transition like?
You know, I always joked that the good Lord was preparing me for this next stage. I didn't know it, but with McDonald's and being involved with the chamber and being involved with like Relight the Mill and Pam Shelton and the schools, and we did like Shop with the Cop, but just giving back to the community gave me a servant's heart, and I think it really showed me that serving people to make them better was a passion of mine. So I love business. I went to school for an HR degree. I had planned on being a restaurant owner the rest of my life. So I just enjoy business in general. So I really feel like I help people achieve their vision for their business. So whether you're the Paycom Arena or you're Savvy Hair Design on Main Street, like we can help you achieve your vision and increase business and just be a tool and be a teammate in your business model, if you will.
Yeah. Well, thanks to Brant here at Louis, we're sitting right across from, you know, one of the signs that you all put in. Tell me about the sign over here at the Integris message board that we're looking at out this window.
So because of McDonald's and because of, you know, just my involvement in Yukon, I was able to be on the chamber board. So being on the chamber board gave me the opportunity to be around Miss Teresa Gray, you know, the president of Integris, and we're literally sitting at a chamber lunch, and I'm talking signs to Mr. Simmeroth, our superintendent of Yukon, and ultimately ended up doing their signs. And then she's like, well, I need a sign guy. And I'm like, well, we can help you. And what was neat about this was early in my career, so I got to learn from one of my colleagues. My mentor, he kind of led this sale, but I mean, it's gorgeous. It's like one of the only vertical electronic message centers in Oklahoma. They were progressive and bought like a much sharper image one that they could do more with. So, yeah,
I don't think people understand the complexity that goes into some of these designs. I mean, it's a whole structure and electronic message board and communication. I mean, it's a technology feat to put one of these things in.
Well, and then there's every bit of 10 people that had their hands on that in my shop, like all these different experts that can apply their knowledge to make it work. And
so you talked about some other signs that you're very proud of. You mentioned the schools. Tell us about the school message boards. We've seen those, you know, just driving around town.
Yeah, so at all the locations of the schools, they have a marquee sign, which is the electronic sign. But what's cool about those is that when I was designing them with Mr. Simmeroth or Dr. Simmeroth, it was just a process. It was like a creative process. So we've got 3 different models to fit the 3 different like landscapes of the schools. You've got a handful of schools that are in the neighborhoods, and those signs are a little bit smaller. And then you got the high school, which is much more of a prominent entrance and a bigger entrance, and it's bigger. And then all the other schools are about the same size. But what's neat for their team is they can control all of them from one office. And that's one of the things that we're proud of, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's important, especially, people always look at it funny when they see some sign that doesn't have any words flowing on it or whatever, right?
Yeah, black box is bad.
Yeah. So not to switch gears too much, but it's sort of related in your involvement here in the city. You have been a participant and a member of the Planning Commission for some time.
A couple years now.
That's impressive, and one of the most important functions within our city. Tell me about that and what kind of learning experience has it been? I know you've learned from some really great people on the committee.
It was very scary in the beginning. You take that role very seriously because this impacts a lot of people. But I love it. It's interesting to me. I think it goes along with my job, because when I'm putting a sign up for somebody in Oklahoma City or Medford, Oklahoma, or Woodward, Oklahoma, we have to abide by code. And so going through code and interpreting code, I enjoy it. I really like it a lot. So yeah, I've learned a lot from a few of the folks. Bill's was our head commissioner, and he was there ever since I started, and he was a good mentor in teaching me kind of like the lay of the land and how the thing works. Always coming prepared. I learned from that. I thought that was,
he really did his homework.
Doing a service for your community. Like
Absolutely.
you don't take it lightly. Like, this is important. You're in that, and I love it. I really do. Like,
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing that I do. Like, it's pretty fun.
That's great. Yeah. So as you in the course of that, and also just being here in town for so many years, what do you see as some of the challenges that we're facing?
That's a tough one. I think we have a group of people that want to move forward in Yukon, that they want to see progress, they want to see growth, they want to see improvements, and then we have another group of folks that like it the way that it is. That we're cool being a small, slow-paced town, and don't want to see growth, don't want to see improvements, and unfortunately we're like butting heads at that. We can't move forward.
Is there a way through, do you think? Like a way, some form of a win-win?
We need to convince the voters that we have to spend some money to have a better quality of life.
Yeah.
And historically, our votes, when they come up, they just don't get a lot of response. When we have anything on the ballot, and nobody turns out to vote for it. And
We need more engagement, more people turning out.
I think if more people that had little kids in town knew what was going on, then they might be more likely to get out and vote, and to improve the town, if you will. So
Absolutely. There's so many good things going on here in the city. What both with businesses as well as with the community organizations and also the city government. What are you most excited about?
Well, I love our parks department. I think they do a great job. I live very close to the community center and have for 18 years, and even grew up across the street when I was a kid. So the community center it's nostalgic to me.
Yep.
But I'd love to see improvements.
Yep.
It means a lot to me, but the new mom and dad literally just moved in next door to me. Is it going to keep them here? Is it going to be one of those things that quality of living that's like, we want to stay in Yukon, and they're a young family with little kids, and I played there when I was a little kid, so I love it, but I like to see the improvements. We got a new park about to open up, and I love that, and the extra stuff, I think, is what draws families to our town. We got a good school system. I mean, the economical side of our town just continues to grow with restaurants and shopping. I mean, we've got a lot of land that can be developed, and over on Frisco, and I think as that develops in the future, it should help. I hate it that we don't take advantage of a lot of tax dollars, but it still brings people to Yukon.
Yeah.
I mean, they still may go across the street and shop at Walmart if they've come to to the south side of 10th Street to eat at the new Stacks or whatever it may be. But that's what Brant taught me one time here. The guy here at Louis, I've been a friend of his for a while, but I said, "Are you worried about Johnny Carino's coming in?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Somebody comes to town to eat at Johnny Carino's." So like, "Oh, there's a Louis there.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to eat at Louis next time."
Yeah,
so
more the
I think
merrier.
that's brilliant. Yeah.
More the merrier. Yeah. So, as we look west of town, I think with the new on-Q coming in and obviously some white space over there to build out, anything that you would envision seeing there?
We need a good tax generator. I mean, a Costco would be great. I think it makes sense geographically for Costco to go in there. It depends on if we can attract them. I know most businesses need us to give a little to get a lot.
Yep.
I think it would be beneficial. It's hard. It's a difficult position, and I've talked to the folks at the city that I know that it's tough to make it worth our while, but then to also not lose out on somebody that may come in and really help us. But we need a big tax generator. I know the hospital, expanding in this area is good as well too, and I think there's some plans for that. The new jump park's gonna be great. That's coming in.
Oh yeah.
So that should draw some people in. So we got some good things happening over here on the 10th.
I was impressed to hear, on the other side of town, on the north side of town, to hear that we have the gold championships for BMX coming to our BMX park this fall.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have not heard that. That's cool.
Apparently, thousands of riders, and I'm sure that families come along with that.
Back in the day, there was one of the former city managers, and I remember sitting around talking. He's like, "How do you envision this town?" And he made this neat comment that it's like, we've got good veins in this town.
Yeah.
We have to figure out ways to bring people here. When I owned that McDonald's, I always argued that sports complex, and I would tell stories about the soccer tournament in Mustang, how the McDonald's would run out of food. I'm like, give me the chance to run out of food. I'm not going to run out of food.
Yeah.
And but we need to have something that brings people in occasionally. Like it'd be neat to have a farmer's market down on Main Street that can be, flexible, that could host whether it be a junk in your trunk or a farmer's market that's every quarter or every first of the month or whatever it may be. But
I know they've done some sporadically, but I think when you have something that's regular, that it's first and third Saturday of the month or whatever it is, people put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
They might not come every time, but they got it on their calendar and it's something that they look forward to. Well, it's excellent. So, as you look at your future, I mean, you've given great service to the city in many, many different ways. What's the future of Planning Commission? What are the things that you're, I've heard at least that there's perhaps, I know you guys have done a ton of work on short-term rentals, fair housing code. What's the future there?
The Airbnbs, the short-term rentals, it's a passion of mine. I'm very passionate about allowing people to do what they want with their properties, and that we've equipped the city with ways to control it, and protect the citizens, But I don't know. I think housing it's going to evolve. I've learned a lot. I'll be honest. There was a year and a half ago, I took a hard stance on an issue and didn't want to approve affordable housing, and I've since changed my stance on that. I definitely see a need for it, and I think that's the challenge: is how do we keep Yukon's, keep us as an elevated, town and an economy, but do it in a respectful way, and do it for where people can afford to live here and work in our stores and work in their community.
Yeah.
So I don't have a one-off answer on that.
Well,
I know there's
you guys deal with the nuance and the complexity, and that's why we need great people like you to serve in that capacity. Well, good. I think the vision that you have for the future is very, very thoughtful, and the city as well as anybody. If there's what's in the future for you when it comes to your career here at Metro Sign, they're statewide.
We are. We're statewide. It's funny. My company's very important to me, but it's not about me out here. When I worked for the schools, it was never about making money. It's nice to make money, but it was always about just serving my community. Like when I drive by and I look at that Integra sign, because I respect Teresa Grace so much, then I'm like, I know I have to see you at the grocery store. I know that's going to work for you. And when I was with McDonald's, it was awful. I mean, people would beat me up for, you got my Big Mac right, but it took too long, and I didn't even go out in the community. So ultimately, I want to keep serving my community. I love to help businesses here in town, and Yeah.
Well, the service mindset you have for the city is commendable, and I've really appreciated getting to know you, Jarrid, since I moved to town 12 years ago, and of course getting to know your family. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jarrid. Stay with us right here on Yukon Speaks. We're elevating Yukon's best, one story at a time.